Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films, back again with Steven Universe Future. Last time on Steven Universe Future, we had Growing Pains, where Steven was having some growing pains. His body kept growing and morphing for some reason out of his control. So Connie took him to, well, her mother, the Dr. Maheshwaran, and she ran a bunch of tests and realized that Steven has gone through a lot of trauma in his childhood, and now his body will respond to any tiny little issue as it being the end of the world. And then it is Steven and Connie realize that this is because of the failed marriage proposal. And Steven gets really, really big, and things are pretty bad. And then Greg comes in and talks to him, and everything kind of works itself out. You know, they have a nice talk. And that was that. So let's keep going. Let's see what else is going to happen in this great series. This great series where everything is just hunky dory, right? Yeah, this, let's see, what else they can do, here in this show. Yeah, let's get going on this episode of Steven Universe Future. Here we go. I love that whole thing with, you know, oh, look at all these people. Maybe things aren't so bright. It's like, no, this is all about Steven and how screwed up he is.
Here you go, Stewball. Dinner is served.
Look at him.
Ice cream a la pie.
Thanks, Dad.
We're kind of going on a story arc now.
Glowing have gone down.
Like, these episodes have all fed into each other more.
Won't eat itself.
I spent so long trying to figure out whether or not I was Mom. Now that I actually know I'm me, it's like I have no idea who that is.
Well,
I just wish I knew what to do with myself.
Maybe you need a change of scenery, Stewball.
Road
You're
trip.
never gonna find yourself if you don't start looking.
In this whole wide world, there's no one like you.
there you go. You're getting there.
There's no one like you.
Nope. Yeah. I know that.
Good. No one's home.
Wait, what? Whose house is that? Dad?
Wait. Is this the DeMeo house?
Any paper in here? Huh?
DeMeo.
Letters from Dad? They're all unopened.
This is his parents' house. Yeah.
Dad? This place is beautiful. I thought you said you grew up in a prison.
I did. You have no idea what it was like. Curfew, chaperones, meatloaf.
You didn't like meatloaf?
Not every Thursday for 20 years.
It
Jeez.
couldn't have been that bad.
Steven, it was horrible. Do you know how old I was the first time I had a taco? Too old.
Where are they, anyways?
At their timeshare on Florida Island. They go every single winter, every single year.
Florida Island.
The first time I refused to go with.
Looking for your place in the universe. Welcome to the party, Mr. Universe. We're so glad we are a
Clever.
part of you. Meet the rocks and flowers, the seconds and the hours, the splinters, winters, apples, chapels, teardrops, temples.
Is that him
castles,
singing on the CD too?
anything.
Dad? Is this where our name comes from?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, exactly.
You took it from a song?
Once I heard
Where do you
this,
think it came
everything
from?
Changed.
Used to be
I suddenly
DeMeo.
realized,
I wish I could have grown up in a house like that.
no, you don't.
Maybe your parents weren't so bad.
Oh.
Maybe they gave you curfews and
Easy
chaperones
now.
and meatloaf for a reason.
Steven, you don't know what they were like.
They can't be worse than Mom's family. I went halfway
Damn.
across the galaxy for them, and this was right here?
Steven, I couldn't
I
do
guess-
anything
I mean,
growing up. Everything I
he's a
loved
point.
was a war. You grew up with actual freedom.
I grew up in a van. I never went to school. I'd never been to the doctor until 2 days ago.
Steven, you're a gem. You're not like other kids.
I could have done all that stuff. My
Uh.
problem isn't that I'm a gem. My problem is I'm a universe.
Watch out!
Careful, you can... Oh!
Tow truck's on its way. The van's seen worse. We'll all get through this, and
Seen worse.
I'm proud of you.
What?
You know, I never had the guts to tell my old man off like that. I'm glad
Yeah.
you can tell me anything. We'll get you some more ice cream. How does that sound? Hey, you can have ice cream for
Just a little something that I just
He's losing it. He's losing it. He's so losing it. It's ridiculous. Oh my word. He's just losing it. Like, what? He's losing his mind. I don't... I don't know, man. Did he never realize that he had a normal family somewhere? You know, after Andy, after the whole thing with Andy and after the whole thing with Andy and he knows his name is DeMeo. How did he think Greg got his name, you know? Like, really, like, what did he think? Like, yeah, he got it from a song. Okay, maybe he thought Greg was a little bit more creative than that. But he knew DeMeo was his real name, not Universe. But yeah, where did he think Greg got the name? I don't know. I'm not fully on board with Steven this episode. I almost feel like he's freaking out for the sake of freaking out. You know? Now, with that said, some of it is a little valid, I will say. Some of it is a little valid because he has always kind of wanted to be normal, you know? And maybe that's kind of where some of his relationship with Connie stems from, is being normal. Heck, you could even take that him wanting to be normal is kind of what drove him to want to be Stefani in the last 2 episodes. Because being Stefani, you know, being Stefani and living out Connie's life would be normal, you know? Even though Connie isn't that normal, she's a lot more normal compared to Steven. So, to an extent, I understand that, but some of that freaking out I don't think I get, you know? But with that ending, with him, like, not listening and still being mad and, you know, deleting the picture and everything, like, I think now it's time to build up. We're going to be building up to something pretty crazy, you know, which there's only 5 more episodes left of the entire show, and for real this time, you know? There's only 5 more episodes left, so... Oh, man. We can go ahead and go through the notes. I don't feel like this is going to be a particularly long discussion compared to the previous episodes we've had, but we will talk about it anyway. The first thing I wrote down was me, with a question mark. I did like what Steven was saying at the beginning, where he was like, I spent so long trying to figure out if I was mom that I didn't know, that now that I realize that I'm me, I don't know who me is. I actually like that, He's kind of going through an identity crisis, which is true. When you really go back through all of this, it is sort of an identity crisis. He doesn't know who he is or what he's supposed to do. That's why he quit little homeschool and everything. He doesn't know he doesn't know who he is or who he wants to be, which is why he thought he could try to take the easy out of being Stefani. Well, why should he try to be anyone else when Stefani is, clearly, so good? But it just doesn't work like that, So I did really like that, actually. Him saying, I don't know who I am. I've spent all this time figuring out, am I rose quartz? Am I pink diamond? No, I'm me. Who's me, though? So that was very interesting. I wrote down parents. We got a bit of Greg's parents. We didn't get them themselves, but we did get more of Greg's origins, which, again, we kind of got a little bit of that with Andy, because Andy was when we first learned of the DeMeo name, and Steven knew that. Steven still knows that, he's always known that. Even in this episode, he knew that. He knew the DeMeo name, and he knew because Andy was talking about, you left the family, basically, So Steven always knew that, I feel like. Steven always knew that. It's just that only now is that sort of hitting Steven in a different way, Because back then, he wasn't going through an identity crisis, He didn't have all the problems that he has in future here. So, yeah. And, talking about Greg's parents, that makes the most sense as to who his parents were, They were strict parents. I'm sure, they were caring parents, but they were strict parents that didn't let Greg do what he wanted to do, and so he rebelled, He became a rock star. That's what rock stars do, That's very typical for a rock star, That he had very strict parents that wouldn't let him do what he wanted to do, so he rebelled. And for him, he hopped in his van and he left, and he never looked back. And now, even though, yes, I'm kind of assuming they were caring parents, but, there had to have been, some fallout both ways, because, it showed he has sent them letters, but they've never opened them, and maybe that could be because all of those letters are signed Greg Universe, not Greg DeMeo. So I get it. Excuse me. I get it. I definitely understand Greg's origins, and yes, it does make the most sense, he listened to that song and it changed him, he wanted to go out and see the universe, and then he took the name Mr. Universe. So it whole honestly makes so much sense with what we know about Greg. But Steven looks at this as, how could you give up something so great, But that's the thing. Yeah, I don't think he would have had, a lot of the freedoms that he had, It's, because that's the thing. It's like Steven basically had the opposite of what Greg had. Steven had the opposite of what Greg had, whereas, Greg, had these overbearing, strict parents. Steven had so much freedom, but he wasn't able to be normal, but only now is that starting to haunt him, you know? Which maybe that's the difference, is that, you know, Greg was, you know, contained in this one place, and he wanted to go out and see the universe. Steven has seen the universe, but now wants to get down to this one place. So they are opposites. Whereas, you know, Greg looks at it as like, oh my gosh, you had everything that I wanted to have when I was a kid. Steven's looking at it exactly the same way, but he's getting angry about it, you know? Because he's saying, like, I could have had this, but it's your fault I don't. And that's where he starts taking it a bit far, you know? And, yeah, you know, to Greg, it's like, you know, you've had all this freedom. Steven thinks, I've had all this trauma, you know? And when Greg says, like, you didn't know my parents, you know? They were horrible, and Steven says they couldn't have been as bad as Mom's family. It's like, yeah, the Diamonds. You know, he kind of has a point there, but all of this is adding on top of the fact, adding on top of everything that has happened in this season, you know? To where if this was before, if this was in the normal series, you know, if this was in seasons 1 through 5, I don't think he would have acted like this. It's only now with all this anxiety that he has, you know, with all these psychological issues that he has, that is why it's become a problem to him, you know? But at the same time, again, you understand why. You understand why Steven, you know, you do understand it. He makes solid points, is that he sees it as, I've gone through all this trauma, whereas you grew up without that. But to Greg, he's thinking, I lived in a prison. You lived in the universe. So you understand both points, but it's sticking more with Steven, you know? And it's starting to get to him. So we'll have to see. This is definitely, like, we're going to start ramping this up now, you know, with the proposal, which has carried over for a few episodes, you know. That has sort of ramped Steven up a bit, and now this is going to ramp Steven up even more until eventually we basically get to the climax of this, wherever that is. I have no idea. So we pretty much covered everything else on here. The only other thing I wanted to mention was Florida Island. Because, you know, they mention, you know, because this is a different world because, you know, thousands of years ago, the gems were on Earth, and so history is slightly different, you know. History is slightly different from our reality, so, you know, state names and stuff like that, you know, are different, like the state of Keystone instead of Pennsylvania. So I do like Florida Island. An entire island. It's an island. It's Florida Island. In other words, hell. No, sorry, that's an AVGN reference. But it's about football. Also apt. Not the point. But yeah, I just thought that was funny. I love it because it's just the simplest things, you know? You can just say Florida Island, and that is just hilarious to me. So, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all we can really talk about. I really did like this episode, and it was nice to see more of, you know, Greg's origins, and have a bit more of Greg, too. But yeah. Now, it is interesting that, sorry, I'm coughing. I'm fine. I'm starting to lose my voice a bit because I've been recording a lot today. So I need to drink some water, but I'm all right. Don't worry. But it was nice to have a lot of Greg in this episode. You know, we had some Greg last episode, and the past 2 episodes we had a lot of Connie. I will say, though, I'm missing the gems. We haven't had a lot of them, have we? No, because episode 11 was Peridot. Episode 12, what was episode 12? Oh yeah, okay, episode 12 we had Pearl, but she was just kind of there, and we had Bismuth, and that was good. And then, yeah, and Together Forever, we had Garnet and Ruby and Sapphire as well. But the past couple episodes, it's been very gem light, you know? Like, we've had our gems in there, but it's been a bit more gem light than I really would have, than I really realized. So maybe we'll get a bit more of them in the next couple episodes. I mean, obviously, we got to get more of them before the end of the show, but yeah. Hopefully we get back to that. We got 5 more, excuse me. That's how you maths. We got 5 more episodes, and I'm very curious to see how far we can go with this. Every time I turn this show on, I get scared as to what's going to happen. What is Steven going to do, So, but yeah, that is pretty much it. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my Steven Universe future reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.